This is Harrison on the Edge.
It is 4 minutes past the hour. Harrison with you, your new best friend. Welcome. Happy Monday. If you're an occupier, it is happy with mixed blessings. We're getting reports right now, current reports, real time, that the police are once again amassing, although officially it's not been declared by the mayor's office that there will be a strike. But as we know, at 4 in the morning, they were amassing, attempting again to make a strike. So just keep your eyes open. Coming up, we're going to be taking your live telephone calls today. We have dedicated 50 phone lines just for you. I'm going to give out our number. It is 310-807-5135. 310-807-5135. We'll be talking to former Governor Jesse Ventura in just a moment. He is here to support you in the Los Angeles Occupy movement, as well as you in the Occupy movement worldwide. He's going to talk about what he knows about it from the inside, plus his lawsuit against the TSA for groping and other things, and all things civil affairs, civil matters. So we're going to be going to Jesse Ventura in just a moment and taking your calls here on The Smart Show. Again, the number 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135. Without further ado, tell us a little bit about TSA, because there are very few Americans at all who find any pleasure whatsoever either being irradiated by the backscanner technology, which, as we now know, has been banned by the EU, so you cannot go through one of the ones that is made here. But pat-downs are very intrusive to everybody, and you've had a particular conflict with this.
Well, yes, I have. See, mine came from the fact that in '08 I had surgery to where they did surgical procedure on my hip. So I have carbon titanium steel in my body. And so when I pass through the metal detector, I could go through naked. It's going to go off because the metal's inside me. And being that it's inside me, I don't think I can hijack a plane with it. But that being said...
that being said, you probably could.
Well, who knows? I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody doing it with a titanium hip, but one never knows, I guess. But, in fact, the funny thing, before I move on, one time there were 3 of us waiting there. We all set the buzzer off, and I turned to the other 2 gentlemen, and I said, well, it's my right hip. The other guy goes, it's my left hip. The other guy goes, it's my right knee. So the only thing they're truly discovering out there is who's had prosthesis surgery. You know, because we're the only ones that are being put through the ringer to that level. But having said that, I was okay to the point where when they just wanded you, but even that was getting to me because I was flying about 4 times a week, and I couldn't figure out why I was getting angry until it dawned on me. In a free country, you should never feel comfortable being searched. That's my belief. And I was starting to feel comfortable being searched because they were doing it to me 4 times a week. Well, then they went to this extensive stuff where you get the sexual assault pat-down, or now you get the x-ray machine. I refused to go in the x-ray machine. So I had the sexual assault done 1 time to me. I came home. I went to my lawyers. I said, I want to file a lawsuit. Now, wait till you hear this. Initially, I said, let's file under the American Disabilities Act, because I'm considered disabled now, technically, because of my hip. And they're exploiting my disability when they're supposed to be accommodating it according to law. Well, my attorney calls me back a week later and says, we can't sue under the American Disabilities Act. I said, why not? He said it doesn't apply to the federal government.
That's...
Now, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
They pass laws that we in the private sector must adhere to. If you're a private sector business, you can be sued under the American Disabilities Act. But the government is immune from it. So they don't have to accommodate a disability if they don't feel like it.
Well, and it's the same issue that people of Occupy are screaming about, is that the Congress and Senate enjoy extraordinary health benefits, including massage, therapeutic massage, 20 a year or 20 a quarter even, that the regular citizen cannot have. So in some ways, these laws are helpful. In other ways, they're constrictive. And in your case, it's a complete joke. And thank you, by the way, for presenting this and bringing it before the public, because we all get so confused and overwhelmed with what we may not do, and the things that we may do are used to be common sense things. But it looks like a police state is truly growing more rapidly than we'd imagined a year ago.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, they're going to expand. Well, anyway, let me continue. So I brought my lawsuit under the Fourth Amendment. Well, what happens? The judge sits on it for 6 months. She has a hearing, and then at 9 months she throws it out. A federal judge stating she doesn't have jurisdiction. Now, this is a constitutional question. If a federal judge doesn't have jurisdiction, then nobody does. And that's what they've got. People need to understand clearly, when you go to any airport in the United States today, you are not protected by the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. And part of my lawsuit dealt with the fact that, like the judge asked me at the hearing, can you identify a time that you feel you've been abused? And my attorney said there's no way to do that, Your Honor, because the rules of the TSA are classified national security, and citizens aren't allowed to know the rules. So every citizen that goes to an airport can be abused by them, and there's nowhere you can take it, and there's nowhere you can address the abuse because you don't know whether it's abuse or not.
Harris, with you, we are talking to Jesse Ventura, the former independent governor of Minnesota, also a former U.S. Navy SEAL, a professional wrestler, a movie actor, a visiting fellow at Harvard University School of Government, and happens to be the New York Times best-selling author of 5 different books. Currently the host and executive producer of True TV's Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura, and totally has a reputation as the ultimate nonpartisan truth seeker. No qualms about questioning authority, as you can quite obviously and overtly hear. His official website, by the way, is weain'tgottimetobleed.com. One word, weain'tgottimetobleed.com. And he's got a book called 63 Documents the Government Doesn't Want You to Read. We talked about this book 6 months ago, but now that it's holiday season again, it's exploding, it's in the public conscious, and we have the Occupy movements so huge, so vast, so global now that his book on conspiracy theories, as well as the documents the government doesn't want you to read, are more relevant than ever. As a matter of fact, it is now water cooler conversation. And Governor Ventura, talk a little bit about the Occupy movement, because here in Los Angeles, just last night, they had the crowning glory of all masses with all riot police, and right now it is still somewhat contained. Are all these American citizens somehow crazy, as we're being told?
No, these American citizens are simply exercising their First Amendment rights. Those police should be out there protecting them. They should not be out there like stormtroopers spraying them with pepper spray or attacking and assaulting them like they did that veteran up in Oakland. I would love to see all the military veterans come out in force in support of this, because I'm a veteran, and when you take your oath, you take an oath to defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights against all enemies, foreign and domestic. But the oath is to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. These protesters, whether you agree with them or not, still have the right to do what they do under our Bill of Rights First Amendment. And that should be honored. And any police officer involved should look into the mirror and ask themselves, where is my honor? Where is my honor?
Harris, with you, we're talking to Jesse Ventura, former independent governor of Minnesota, also a great truth seeker, and a man who has stood up for the 99% as a former Navy SEAL and just as a good old American citizen. And Jesse, as we look at the Occupy movement and the rest of it, it's curious because the police themselves are really part of the 99%. They're socially not sitting with the banksters, for instance, enjoying a nice cup of Moet Chandon all the time, or sitting on a 37th floor on Wall Street. They actually are the 99%. So it's curious that the 1% is pitting the 99% against the other 99%. And so the larger, just stick with me here, the larger 99% never actually faces off directly with the 1%, which makes the 1% not really real to you and me.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, the same can be applied to the military. When you go into the military, you expect to be serving the people of the United States of America. You're not. Our military today, and even for the past 100 years, read the works of General Smedley Butler, United States Marine Corps, the only guy to win 2 Congressional Medal of Honors, not 1, 2. Smedley Butler, in his memoirs, he died, I think, in 43. He said, I didn't serve the people of America. He said, I served the United Fruit Corporation. When they would go into Central and South America and wouldn't get cooperation, then they sent in the U.S. Marine Corps to get it. Well, people need to understand they're doing the same manipulation with our military. Do you think the people of the United States are benefiting from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan? No. International corporations are. I mean, they determined Afghanistan has the largest mineral source of lithium in the world. Well, lithium will be used for every cell phone, computer, and soon-to-be electric cars.
Yeah, it is.
And, of course, we all know Iraq's loaded with oil.
Right, and we also remember that Afghanistan was announced 2.5 years ago as having $1 trillion with a T, $1 trillion in mineral assets, as if nobody knew in advance before going in and securing the territory. $1 trillion.
Yeah, like some Marine got out there on patrol and tripped over it, right? And said, whoa, what's this? I better report this. You know, I always wondered way back in the 80s why the Soviets went in there. I could never figure it out. What did the Soviets care about Afghanistan for? Until you find out about this mineral wealth there. So people need to be clear. When you serve your country in the military for the last 100 years, damn near, go back to, like I said, Smedley Butler, you're not serving the people of America. You're serving the corporations, and that, by definition, is the basic definition of fascism.
And
is when corporations and organized religion take over the government.
Yeah, it is the perfect intertwining. I mean, Mussolini would definitely be horripilating right now with extraordinary turgidity. No question.
Absolutely.
And
you know, everyone's worried about us turning socialist. That's a red herring. We're already fascist. We're not socialist.
You know, you mentioned Smedley Butler, and he famously to 8 people probably now, but right after FDR, he pointed out that a bunch of people from various banks and various large corporate concerns had gotten together in a huge cabal to push FDR out, reverse the New Deal, and completely take over the government by corporations.
A coup d'etat.
Yeah, a coup d'etat.
Yeah, a coup d'etat. No, that's in my book, American Conspiracies.
Yes.
We write all about that, the whole thing with FDR. They went to Smedley. He was going to be the president. Because they thought, what would be better? A 2-time Congressional Medal of Honor Marine will make him our puppet president. The only problem was when Smedley found out about it, he ratted him. He was a whistleblower. He went to Congress. And none of those people were ever tried for treason or anything.
Well, and that speaks to today, too, because to have such conspicuous disregard for a human population, 7.3 billion people on Earth, with a tiny percentage, having manipulated an entire welfare of so many mammals with such blatant disregard, and now the people are uprising, probably 10 years too late, but they are uprising, somewhat disjointed. Everyone seems to get the message enough. Where do you see this going, having been yourself, Governor Jesse Ventura, on the inside at the highest levels of government? Do you see
Well,
success
I wouldn't
here?
necessarily say I was on the inside, because let me first state this. When I would show up at the National Governors Convention, I was kind of like the red-headed stepchild who shows up on the day they read the will. You know, that's how welcome I was amongst Democrats and Republicans. You know, they view me as a threat. I'm the enemy. So we got to get that clear right away. So I'm probably not privy to everything, being on the inside. But I will state this. having lived 60 years now and having lived through the protests of the Vietnam War, I was in the military then, went in right out of high school. But I saw how initially the Vietnam War protesters were hated. The mainstream media hated them. It was my country, love it or leave it, and all this. Well, in the end, it turned out the protesters were correct. I hope that these protests don't have to end the way Vietnam did, because many people think the Vietnam War turned on the Tet Offensive in '68. I kind of disagree with that. I think what truly turned the Vietnam War in America was when the 4 students at Kent State were murdered by the National Guard. And I hope that this movement doesn't require deaths to happen. But the people have to be resilient, and they have to understand the undertaking that they're taking here, that there are people that will be willing to kill them in which to survive.
Right, and also the people who are occupying, particularly in L.A., they're living in tents not by choice, not to go camping, but because they no longer have houses to live in. One particularly noteworthy guy is somebody we had on a couple of weeks ago, a mailman, a regular postman serving the general public, who Bank of America foreclosed on his house, and this guy never even had a mortgage with Bank of America, so he, like others, literally must now live in a tent. And they're now defending their territory when a cop comes in with pepper spray. This is all they've got left: their wife, their children, and a Coleman tent. It's real.
Yep. Well, you know how, I don't know if I said it on your show, but I've said it on others. I'll repeat it again. You know what's happening in Minnesota? I've been down there about 6 times, and you're fortunate in L.A. It's warm.
Yeah.
Minnesota, it's freezing at night down there. Well, get this. They won't allow the people to have generators to keep warm. But, you know, they have a generator down there running 24/7 that is allowed, and you know what it's for?
What?
This generator has a camera on the top so that everyone's under surveillance. So it's okay to have a generator to put everyone under surveillance, but it's not okay to have generators to keep people warm.
Well, and it's so obvious. If George Orwell were still alive, he'd be doing a double reverse backflip. This is the ultimate 1984 and Animal Farm combined, but it is actually happening and unfolding before our eyes.
I think George wouldn't be doing that. I think George would be looking at all of us and go, "Didn't you read what I wrote?"
Well, you have to be able to read. That's a problem, too.
George would be saying, "Didn't anyone read my books?" That's what he'd be saying. I must have not been a popular author because nobody apparently read what I wrote.
So, Governor Ventura, in signing off, we have tens of thousands of people listening right now, many of whom are interested in the Occupy movement, many of whom are in the Occupy movement. We're streaming live video at the same time. It's going out everywhere. Any note of encouragement for people who really are standing up for their flag, for their civil rights, hoping that their government would actually protect their civil rights and honor them?
Well, my advice is always remember, the Vietnam protesters faced the same uphill battle and they prevailed in the end. Because it turned out the war was wrong, the United States was wrong, and the protesters were right. And always remember, when you have right on your side, no matter what happens, you can hold your head high. And I tell the protesters, I salute you. I salute you because you're exercising your First Amendment constitutional rights. I find the hypocrisy unbelievable that our government will support all the protesting going on in the Middle East, while at the same time they're squashing it here in their own backyard. What must we look like to the world community today? The United States of America should not turn into East Berlin, and those protesters are a key to ensuring that we don't. So I tip my hat to them. Thank you.
Governor Jesse Ventura, thank you so much for joining us here on The Smart Show. Thank you so much for being an American, standing up for other Americans, many of whom you will never meet, who will never meet you, but you, in front of 10 million people, are showing what good citizenship looks like in a country that is based on our being able to do the very thing that you have just done for us and reminded us how exactly to do it. Suit up, show up, and the rest will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, and while we still got our First Amendment rights are intact, I hope.
Harrison's Hellraisers.
Hi, I'm Clint Eastwood, and I'm a Harrison Hellraiser. You got that? Okay.
Harrison Hellraiser.
This station presents Real American Heroes.
Real American Heroes.
Today, we salute you, Mr. Republican Office Holiday Party Goer.
Mr. Office Holiday Party Goer.
Sure, Jessica from accounting looks hot, but do you really think she's going to give you the time of day just because you've had a few and are wearing a Santa hat?
Say ho, 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 you ho.
Do you really think, Mr. Republican Office Holiday Party Goer, that people want you to photocopy those parts of yourself?
Your butt's like the Shroud of Turin.
Is that a mistletoe belt buckle?
And that's never been funny. Yeah.
So this holiday season, go easy on the eggnog and steer clear of the guy who's most likely to end the year Foley style. Mr. Republican Office Holiday Party Goer, a real American hero.
Mr. Obnoxious Office Holiday Party Goer.
Nice job, dum-dum. That was the boss's teenage daughter.
Humping the pant leg of right-wing radio. This is Harrison.
Harrison with you, your new best friend. You are listening to The Smart Show, and we are streaming live. If you have a smartphone, you can watch this by going to goharrison.com, and of course you can listen to us. As many people at Occupy, we're getting reports, are listening on the radio, 90.7 FM on KPFK, and everywhere else. So make sure you tweet it out and have everybody hear the updates live as we're reporting them. Let's go to the phones right now. We have a special dedicated 50 phone lines we have set up for you here exclusively on The Smart Show, 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135. We're going to go first to Carlos the Mailman. He's somebody we've had on before, one of the organizers of Occupy. And Carlos, you're on with Harrison. Glad to hear your voice. What's going on there?
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me on. And I just wanted to inform a little bit of what's going on over at ILA. There's exciting things going on over there. The people are getting united. Yesterday was such a great day because it was supposed to be a day when we were supposed to be from City Hall, and lo and behold, the police never came in. The people united. Many people came from all over parts of the city. We had clergymen coming in. We have unions coming in. We have seniors coming in. We have families coming in. We have students coming in. It was such a unity and show of force yesterday at Occupy LA.
So give us right now what you know is going on, Carlos, on location on campus there.
Well, right now we are just waiting and see what the reaction is going to be from the mayor after Villaraigosa after what happened last night. What actually happened is the people protested. They took it to the streets. They shut down the streets. The LAPD came in a show of force, but there were only 4 people that were arrested and then released. We believe that there are ongoing negotiations right now, and hopefully he will change his mind. There's civic leaders, religious leaders, and labor leaders trying to talk with the mayor, and hopefully he will change his mind about evicting the occupiers.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Carlos, and we'll check in with you later. And thank you for keeping me in the loop even at 4 in the morning. I appreciate the lack of sleep, and I appreciate your kind attentions.
Yes.
And I appreciate your sense of humor. All right, my friend, we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
All right, my friend. He's pooped, too. I mean, it's a full-time job. Let's go next to John in downtown L.A. John, you're on The Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Hey, Harrison. Appreciate what you do, and wanted to say that I went down to Occupy LA at about quarter to 11 last night for the 12:01 a.m. deadline, right? And at first, you really couldn't tell, there was a minor police presence across the street at their headquarters from City Hall, and then all of a sudden the mood changed when they started to show up en masse and cordon off the area pretty much. They started from where I was at First and Broadway, more or less, between Broadway and Spring Street. They started parking their vehicles and setting up a blockade in the middle of the intersection where protesters had spilled out to the street. And then that scene was repeated again pretty much on the opposite end, more or less, at First and Spring. And then eventually they, came a little bit more en masse and successively more en masse to like the intersection of Los Angeles and First. So the mood was very tense, of course, after the police arrived, but I was grateful that nothing happened as far as what we've seen in previous protests such as Oakland and in New York City. And there was one other thing that I had wanted to mention. I just pretty much felt compelled to come down, and show support, to observe, like a lot of the journalists from KPFK, suggested, folks come down, observe, just to, and be peaceful, of course, naturally, nonviolent protest, to just make sure everything goes nonviolently. And just makes me reflect a little bit what happened a few years back in the May Day rally when Mayor Villaraigosa was out of town on his Latin American tour, and journalists, including protesters at MacArthur Park, and police had their altercation. One thing I also noticed last night with the commercial media that was there was that Fox was curiously absent. All the other commercial media were present.
Well, they sell electronic sex toys and stuff after midnight on Sunday, so you don't want to really rob their cash.
It's much more important.
Much more important.
No doubt.
Hey, John, thank you for your call. We've got a bunch coming in. I'm so grateful that you called in and checked in with us. Very much appreciated. Our numbers here are special just for today only. We're going back to our regular phone number, which is 310-737-TALK next week. And also on our Hangouts, which we're doing evenings at 6 p.m., where we take video calls from around the world, plus open up the phone lines. That's every night, weeknight at 6. Just go to goharrison.com for more information, goharrison.com, and we'll have that regular phone number. But for today, 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135. I want to acknowledge Mercy Malik, by the way, for doing extraordinary coverage of this, being so involved in bringing us the latest breaking moments so that I can deliver them to you. Also, Geoff, who's been so incredibly helpful, amassing audio, interviewing people, getting stuff done. Francis, who's handling our phones remotely from Orange County in the seat of the Republican scrotum, here being of service for you. Not to mention Billy,
there.
Our webmaster in Phoenix, Arizona, hugging the kneecap of Jan Brewer just to make you feel all the more safer. Let's go to Tim in Orange County. Tim, you're on the Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Hi there. Thank you. How are you doing?
Doing great. Better to hear your voice. What's going on?
Hi. I'm just coming from Occupy LA. I've been there a number of times the past few weeks. And I'd say it seems to be thinning out a little bit today, but this is a movement that's not going to be going away anytime. I'm sure since we'll be coming back next year, we'll be here next year, not just for the presidential election, but there could be a lot more people unemployed even next year.
Yeah, we've got a very thin phone line, but we totally understood what you said. Thank you very much for your call. Let's go next to Lisa in Westminster. Lisa, you're on the Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Yes, I think for every person at Occupy LA, there's hundreds who'd like to be. Maybe the next step should be something more people can do, like Occupy Main Street. Go where the people are at this time of year, the shopping district, near the banks, the stores. Do tabling, informational tabling, a voter registration, maybe a demonstration once a week. Go where the people are, Main Street. That should be the next phase. Does that sound good?
Well, it makes sense. And actually, you are in a way, because we don't have a Main Street in L.A., a 50-mile-long suburb. The closest thing to Main Street is Starbucks, where you're going to see the same person 5 times a month. So, unfortunately, and downtown LA is hardly the locus for human traffic, but at least the TV stations will show up. And it is the mayor's backyard.
About Westwood.
Westwood's great idea, too. Hey, occupy Beverly Hills if you really want to get global television.
Bel Air.
Oh,
Seriously,
yeah.
occupy Rodeo Bolt Drive, right? Occupy Barney's. Seriously, you do that stuff, you are going to get CNN actually to get off their ass and show up. If you occupy Barney's Greengrass, the wonderful restaurant on the rooftop, throw some tents up there and order an hors d'oeuvre. Trust me, you're on TV.
Absolutely. Let's stand up and be counted.
All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. Very much appreciate your call. You're awesome. Let's go next to Rhea in Las Vegas, Nevada. Rhea, you're on The Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'll make it quick. My first comment, I loved what happened and what the young lady said just preceding. I was thinking of something more massive, like maybe 5,000 or more, if possible, that could submerge on Washington. It seems as though Washington has nothing to say, period, about Occupy. And, of course, they're aware, just as anyone else, about Occupy and what it's about. That's my first comment. Anything that we could do to make people in a peaceful way come to task with what they are not doing and to bring to the attention that we are aware of what you're doing, we don't appreciate it, and we're never going away. My second comment was that something I heard on the radio today with regard to Bradley Manning, the gentleman they've accused of leaking information to WikiLeaks. I'd like to address Governor Ventura. What kind of help do you think we as a nation of 99%, we the people, could give Bradley Manning? Because what he did, if in fact he did it, was very brave, and he has an honor. He has a bunch of honor because he was not afraid, and he did what he should have done. You don't protect anyone that is doing wrong, irregardless if you've been told to do so. I mean, that's man's law. There's another law that we are all supposed to be held to, and that's honorability and the truth. And if it's that the government is doing wrongful things, my hat is off to him if he did in fact leak it. But I want to know what kind of support can we give Bradley Manning, because the trial he's going to be getting and who's going to be putting him on trial, to me that's like going into the lion's mouth.
Yes.
Well, and it's a whole lot like ExxonMobil investigating itself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We kind of know how that ends up. I'm going to send an email to Governor Ventura. He had to run, but I'll send an email because that is an excellent question, and we'll broadcast that later. As a matter of fact, you've given me a good idea, Rhea. You're calling from Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm going to stay on an extra hour. We're going to go off the radio because there's other programming on KPFK, but I'm going to stay online at GoHarrison.com. We're going to keep taking phone calls for a second hour until 4 p.m. Pacific time. So everyone go to online starting at 3 p.m. Pacific. Stick with us. Call in. We'll continue this conversation. Rhea, thank you so much for checking in with us.
I just want to give a shout out to Rhea calling from Las Vegas, Nevada, as us locals, natives call it. And I grew up there, and I just wanted to say that there's a lot of places around the country that have a perception as, oh, it's just a party place. People don't really care. That was the community that I was raised in, and there's a very high level of consciousness within a certain portion of the population there. And it's wonderful that we have the internet to bring these people together, because my awareness of things that are going on that are not reported on came up through that town. So thank you very much, Rhea, for calling.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And that's Mercy Malik, of course, who is our news director here, who has been assiduously keeping all of us completely tethered to what's going on. Let's go next to, looks like we have Duke from Fallbrook, California, Occupy Fairbanks, Alaska, and New York. So he's got quite a bit of life experience. Duke, you're on the Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? I've mainly just, been able to observe what's been going on at both of those places, just briefly in New York, and then a little bit more up in Fairbanks. And the question I wanted to throw out there is, how can we take more of a direct or decisive or clear action in the way that we're making demands so that we're not such an easy target for the media and naysayers to kind of come down on us? It seems as though our inclusivity has been us as occupiers or people in solidarity, our inclusivity has been sort of part of the downfall, because since we have this radical inclusiveness, there's kind of it can be a mishmash of people, and if we have a representative picked for us, it's not necessarily on our terms, and so we end up having maybe someone kind of crazy or someone not really hip to the pure ideals of the movement. So what's the best way that we can approach that problem and solve it?
Well, this is a struggle. I happen to be gay.
What?
Thank you, everybody.
We didn't know.
And we have had the same issue with LGBTQILMNOPQRST. and anyone else. I like to pet dogs. You're part of it now. I sleep 12 hours a day. LMNOP. And so we've had the same thing. The identity ends up being vitiated, and it ends up being spread out so thinly to create such a large camp. And here's where the Republicans end up having success. This doesn't mean that it's good, but they understand one thing, is you got to have a talking point. You got to have a singleness of purpose, a unity of message. Whatever that is, have a plebiscite, have democracy, vote on it, figure it out in the Occupy movement or on the left. First things first, what's the biggest point? All right, let's tackle that. Then point number 2, point number 3. But right now, we're so frustrated, so constipated with the feculence of disgruntlement that we have so many issues, and like you said, it's throwing a million darts at a million targets. And unfortunately, what would the corporate media cover if there's 78 targets? They're going to cover the guy with green hair.
Yeah.
And have a nice day. Thank you so much, Duke. Thank you so much for calling. Our special number for today, 310-807-5135. 310-807-5135. 310-807-5135. 51 minutes past the hour. Harrison with you, your new best friend. You are listening to The Smart Show. Streaming live video on your smartphone, on your iPad, on any internet service anywhere in the world. GoHarrison.com. Secondarily, feeding through live stream through Ustream worldwide. We have tens of thousands of people logged on right now watching, and of course listening on KPFK 90.7 FM in Los Angeles, 98.7 FM in Santa Barbara, 93.7 in San Diego, 99.5 in Central California. We are going to be going into a second hour, not on the radio, because we want to honor the next program coming up, but we are going to keep broadcasting online for you and taking your live telephone calls and streaming out to the rest of the world at 310-807-5135. So stay with us for that second hour. Let's go next to Michael in Los Angeles. And Michael, you are host of Occupy the Future. Welcome to the Smart Show.
Hi, Kerry. I just think you're one of my favorite radio personalities, and I'm very glad to be speaking with you today.
Thanks.
I'm a member of the San Fernando Valley Greens, which are the Green Party registered voters here in the Valley. And we've been very much involved with Occupy LA. We were there the very first day to help launch it. Several of our members have been living down at the encampment. And one thing that we're doing, Kerry, is we're going to host an event on Monday, a week from tonight, here in North Hollywood, here in the Valley, at the Mayflower Club, and it's called Occupy the Future. And what we're trying to do is, that disgruntlement you were talking about, and that hostility and the partisanship that seems to be gridlocking our democratic process, we want to tear some of that down and have sort of a future-focused themed summit where we're bringing together voters from all the political parties and discussing the things that we do have consensus on and that we do agree on, so that we can sort of wrap our minds around what's coming up in the next election cycle in 2012. And we're even going to have a few candidates for the city election in 2013 to just try to give our voters here in the Valley kind of like a heads up of what's looming on the horizon. And we're going to give them direct actions that they can take so that, we can strengthen our democracy.
Do you have a website that people might be able to check out?
Yeah, we've got a blog site. In fact, It's not really a website, and I'll get that address to you just in a second. I just wanted to say that, the previous caller who was talking about direct actions to take and things that we can do, that's one of the main things that this meeting is going to be about. We're going to have petitions there. We're going to be talking about getting volunteers together for propositions for the state ballot and that sort of thing. And we are going to have, hopefully, an inspiring meeting. And also we're going to be flying in Dr. Jill Stein, who is a presidential candidate for the Green Party nomination. Like the Republicans, we haven't selected our nominee yet. And she was a candidate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for governor. I think she got over like 14 or 15% of the vote.
I remember that. Hey, I'm going to ask a favor of you because we've got 1 million people on hold. I totally want you to check in. Keep us in the loop on this for the future so that we can know where you guys are moving with that. And at that point, hopefully, too, you can give us a website so that people can follow and support as needed. Harrison with you. It is 55 minutes past the hour. We are going to do a little live and local traffic here on KPFK in just a minute with Jeff Thomas. Want to remind you, we are going to go into a second hour here. Stay streaming. So if you're on the radio right now, jump on your smartphone, jump on your iPad, go online so you can continue to join us in the live telephonic frolic that is the conversation surrounding this, including information tips, what you know, have you been a witness of Occupy, your position in this, and do you feel that it will continue, and tips you can give on how to support it and keep this thing alive. Our number is 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135. We're going to do about a 30-second traffic, and then I'm going to come out, give the numbers again, remind you to stay on. Here's a little live and local traffic with Jeff Thomas.
Go Harrison. Completely unsponsored, common sense commuter traffic.
It is 56 minutes past the hour. This is your Go Harrison live and local traffic report on KPFK. Just 2 items to report. First, let's start in Riverside on the 215 North at Central. There was an earlier big rig crash that's now been moved out of lanes off the right-hand side. And in Corona on the 91 East at Main Street, a crash is blocking the left lane. Traffic is backed up to Surface Club Drive. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, keyword Go Harrison. For Harrison, I'm Jeffrey Thomas on KPFK 90.7 FM, Los Angeles.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey. Want to thank everybody who is listening to us on the radio right now, reminding you to please go online. We're going to continue into a second hour here on the Smart Show with Harrison, taking your calls about Occupy LA, Occupy wherever you are on Earth as we continue to stream live video. So switch over to online. Our number 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135. That number is listed on the video, so once you start watching, you'll see it and be able to keep 310-807-5135 in your mind. I want to thank everybody for listening, for participating today. Harrison with you. This is The Smart Show. You can join us anytime at GoHarrison.com. Don't forget, we do our hangouts each night at 6, from 6 to 7 at GoHarrison.com, taking video calls from all around the world and live telephone calls as well. Thank you so much. Remember, Jesse Ventura was on with you, reminding you, suit up, show up. It will take care of itself. The best way to practice citizenship is by actually practicing it. Woohoo! Yeah. It's a miracle. Thank you. Mercy, you're going to stay in. G-Up, you're going to stay in. We're about to hit hour number 2. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you on the radio next week Pacific time, 2 to 3 p.m. Ta-tas.
Plural.
Another day, staring at the just breathe.
There we go! Woohoo! All right. right, we are back online. Thank you so much, Geoff. This is fun. This is hour number 2 as we continue with our Occupy LA coverage. Coming to you live from West Hollywood, California, from Marilyn Monroe's former apartment, which we affectionately call the Marilyn Studios here. And we're talking to people online who are involved with Occupy, who have seen it, who understand it, who can witness it. Let's go next to Mark in Sherman Oaks. And Mark, you're on the Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon. I went there Saturday, and I think we have to try to understand what's at stake. What are we trying to achieve? And what we're trying to achieve is that, okay, let's take for granted the people who vote Republican, the hardcore, they'll vote Republican. The Democrat, on the other hand, will do the same. And there is those 15% floating of people that we don't want to scare.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, pray for the media not to go there, because you don't want those 15% of undecided to see what's going on. It's a zoo, okay?
You know, it's interesting.
And there is no rigorism. There is no discipline. There is nothing. There was a guy from Channel 12, Spanish-speaking channel, trying to do an interview, and there's a kid who was like 10 feet behind him, in his back, and he threw a piece of pizza to the guy. I mean, for nothing. The guy was just talking to the camera. I mean, I'm sorry, but you see, the problem is the right, Tea Party, they have discipline. They organize. Look, we have left in this country for 80 years. We have achieved nothing. I'm not talking about the Democrats who are not on the left. Then you have the Tea Party coming out. In 2 years, they have people in government.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And they have achieved their goals, by the way. We have the complete devastation of civil society.
Yes, but again, I think it's rooted in that identity politics. If we want to achieve something, let's see the big pictures and the big problem, which is money in politics and corporation. And stop to think that you're going to go there to protect the Howe and the Sequoia and the pedophile from Anchorage and whatever it is that you're defending. Just stay on the big target. When we get back into place of power, then we'll deal with everybody's own problem. Okay?
All right.
But I think that's my problem. That's my problem when you go over there. It's whatever. And like I said, I hope there is no media then showing what's going on, because those people that I know, I'm really on the left. I'm so far on the left. But the people that I know that I talk to, that every time I try to convince them of something, I'm trying just not to scare them. Oh my God, if they see that, it's all over. It's like when on KPFK they talk about the chemtrail. You know, I don't know if it's real or not, but let's don't talk about that yet. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's all part of the dialogue, and there are so many issues, and that seems to be the problem, Mark, is there are so many issues, and somehow we do need to create a democracy, get together, and vote. Thank you so much for your call, my friend. Very much appreciated. Love to hear European voices as well, who grew up in a different system. Always smart to hear with that. Let's say hi to Todd in Silver Lake. Todd, you're on the Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome. Todd. Is this Todd?
Hello, is this Harrison?
Yes, it is.
Hey. Never heard of your show before. I'm not usually able to listen to the radio at this time of the day. I guess you're now off KPFK, but you're still continuing online, it sounds like.
Absolutely, my friend.
All right, well, I'm an observer of Occupy. I went down there pretty early on in it to try to bring hot green tea to everybody. Found out they can't have an open flame. Came back a month later. Things are pretty surprisingly well organized for kind of an anarchist-based movement, which is good. Then I was at the big meeting last night, probably, I guess, the biggest attendance they've ever had at General Assembly with my girlfriend and I. And I noticed that a lot of time is getting wasted on the necessary inclusion of everybody's voice and opinions and input. I went to a Move to Amend meeting soon after Occupy because I thought, Occupy looks to me like they're getting a lot of media attention, but they don't have a concrete agenda hammered out. I went to a Move to Amend meeting like a couple of weeks later, and they were trying to come up with something as a charter for Occupy that Occupy could agree with. Occupy couldn't agree with it because it didn't include every single tiny specific demand, you know, recognition of underwater basket weaving as a skill, any of those things. And that's, not nice and a little sarcastic, but I understand
just
the
a little
main problem. And our bottom line is, yes, what you said in your analogy with there being 1,000 targets and 1,000 darts, that's the problem with the Occupy movement. Right now they have a lot of media attention. They could really do something with it if they just presented 2 or 3 things that even majority of Americans that are on the right politically could agree with. We have to level the playing field if we're going to be in a free market system. Right now the free market system doesn't really exist. We have things slanted in favor of the corporation.
Well, thank you so much.
The Occupy movement needs to get
Thank you so much for that.
Talking point.
Thank you for that excellent analysis. I think everybody can only agree with you because you're so right on. As difficult and politically incorrect as it sounds, it's very reasonable for us to discuss the very things that seem to be impediments, speed bumps in our possible progress, which is lack of unity. While we're showing unity, we don't have unity. So it is a true conundrum, for sure. Thank you so much, Todd. Very much appreciate it. Do join us next week from 2 to 3 and definitely online simply by going to goharrison.com. Thank you so much, my friend. Let's go next to Ori. Ori, you're on the Smart Show with Harrison. Welcome.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi, Ori.
I think the Occupy movement is a lost cause.
Why is that? Why do you think that? Did we lose him?
You're going to have to really speak up.
Okay. Why do you think that, Ori?
Sorry. I personally think the Occupy movement is a lost cause. You've got a bunch of groups all around the country, kind of just loosely knitted, no real agenda, just like Todd says. They're not demanding anything. And I feel like, I just feel like it's a waste of time.
Well, you know why they're there. I mean, you actually know why they're there, and you know what the arguments are. And as you know, let's say you took 20 people off the sidewalk, and they were all hungry and wanted food, and you put them together. Would they all be sort of in unison saying, feed me, or would they be going, my clothes itch, oh, look at that car going by. And that's sort of what happens. Versus the Republicans do this one thing that we don't seem to do, is they screen their attendees. Much as
they also pay them.
They pay and screen, right. Like the Bush administration. If you're going to come into a town hall meeting, we want to see your passport. We want to know who your 3rd grade teacher was. We want to know what you're going to ask in advance. And they end up doing Fox News. And it's actually effective.
Well, I feel like the entire world economy has kind of taken this downturn. And camping out and just chanting about it doesn't really fix the problem. And actually, I feel like the economy is making a comeback. So has proven Black Friday sales are up 6% from last year. And I feel like once things turn around, everyone's going to kind of cheer and say, yeah, the Occupy movement was a great success. But, I mean, I really don't think it really makes a difference in the grand scheme of things.
Well,
okay. Sorry, go ahead. Well, actually, Black Friday, quote-unquote, success was kind of a ruse. Those were loss leaders, so people were spending money, but the companies were actually not making money. So that's another one of those things where they go out and say, oh, spend to help the economy. But that really was not an indication that people either have any more of an expendable income or that the economy is regenerating. And I just want to point out one thing, and I have not been to an Occupy. I haven't been down there. That's not my way. However, I think the fact that people are out in the streets, and as you mentioned too, around the world, right, as we talked about on the bottom of the hour news, is making people very uneasy. And that in itself is a positive thing. People in power are understanding that people are hurting and that they don't have jobs, because if they did, they wouldn't be able to be out there. That's the most telling point of the Occupy movement to me, is that if people were employed, they wouldn't be making a ruckus. So even if they can't form a cohesive and consistent message amongst the masses, there are masses. Does that make sense? He's gone.
Or
I put him to sleep.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing her over the phone. I can hear you just fine. For some reason I couldn't hear her.
Oh, he says...
But,
yeah, he says he can hear...
I appreciate your time. Honestly, I love your show. Keep it up. Just wanted to put in my 2 cents.
All right, pal. Hey, thank you. You put in
your mic's not on.
We appreciate
Mic's not on. Mike's not on.
You put in a whole $1. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty then. It is 9 minutes past the hour. Harrison with you. We are continuing to stream live so long as we've got phone calls that are participatory from you, and that's why we're doing this special launching into the second hour. Our number, which I'm not going to say this way because it doesn't matter. You have to actually be watching to get the number. So you can see it on your screen. Let's say hi to Dr. Bill next. Dr. Bill, you're on the Smart Show. Welcome.
How do you? Afternoon. I'm a holistic doctor, and I've worked in KPFK News through the years. I got some legal background. Let me see. I want to keep it brief because I know we got a lot of calls. I guess two things I want to say. Number one, I think the most immediate thing, or the bottom line, is how we're going to keep Occupy LA from getting shut down. And I haven't heard a lot about this on KPFK, but the fact is there has been a legal complaint filed and asking for injunctive relief. I've glanced through it. It looks like guys on the money, and people may take a look at that very easily. You know, on the website.
That'd be great. Yeah, give it up quickly, please.
Yeah, just HTT, the www.answercoalition.org /LA/news/Occupy-LA. It's right there. I'm sorry, I'm getting some echo or something. What?
Go ahead, please. We're totally listening to you.
No, but you got the address, or should I say it again?
Yeah, say it again one more time, please.
Yeah, the HTTP stuff, www.answercoalition.org /LA/news/Occupy-LA.
Great.
And just look, it says, there's a little, in purple it says, wait, my screen just did a funny thing. 1 second. In purple it says, click here to read the illegal complaint. It's 11 pages. It's right there, and it's right on point. It's gorgeous.
All right. Hey, thank you very much, Dr. Bill. Thank you for being a doctor. Thank you for ministering to people in need, because at the end of the day, that's all we've got, is people willing to suit up and show up.
I've been down about 10 times doing what I can, some interviews and some working on people's backs and stuff. The other thing real briefly is, I agree that the movement does have to be more focused. But as a matter of fact, I submitted a 3-page document a few days ago, which I hope will be helpful in that, helping to kind of clarify and focus on the issues, and at the very end mentioning what I think are the most crucial points we need to jump on. So we have to keep working on this. I think that's a good criticism, but don't give up the fight yet.
Nobody's giving up.
No.
And that's why you are here to remind us that just because we get disgruntled and displeased by some of the ways some of us are acting, and the entire rainbow is represented, after all, it is humanity. It doesn't mean we should just say forget it and leave. So thank you very much, Dr. Bill. Very much appreciate your participation. Mercy Malik here with me right now. This is The Smart Show. Mercy is from Las Vegas, Nevada. Mercy has grown up an activist her whole life, and it was one of the few who actually showed up back in the Bush-Gore days, the second Bush election, went out personally canvassing, and has been totally involved in these kind of movements for so long. And Mercy, I just want to acknowledge that, because a lot of people don't physically get their hands dirty and can't really know what this is all about unless they have had dirt under their nails. And your nails are beautiful, by the way.
Well, thank you very much. It's all a ruse. But I also wanted to say that part of the reason that I was kind of recruited so young into the consciousness, if not the activity, is this is going to sound odd, but Martin Sheen. I attended a Catholic church when I was growing up, and Martin Sheen used to come to our church once a year to head a protest at the nuclear test site called the Nevada Lenten Desert Experience.
Yeah.
So when you have someone who's really, people love to bust on celebrities for, what do they know? Why are they talking about politics? They bring attention to important causes, and fame is currency. So Martin Sheen, using his fame to draw attention to a cause about which he felt passionately, not only brought that attention to it, but spawned a whole generation of kids. He's sitting there in church with us. He's just going to mass in our little ghetto Catholic church, and that was impactful to me.
Yeah, and that's the key, is to show up. And this movement has given unique position, missionary or otherwise, permission for a lot of celebrities to use their brands now, because there's a movement larger than they are, so they don't have to look like freaks so much.
Right.
Let's say hi next to Mark in Granada Hills. Mark, you're on The Smart Show with Harrison and Mercy. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Can you hear me okay? I'm on speakerphone sitting in my car.
We do.
Yes.
Just make sure you yell loudly. It'll be perfect.
Alrighty. Well, the first thing I want to ask you is, I got on the radio, I heard you, and I thought, hey, is he going to have this whole 2-hour session on the archive?
Yes.
Is that going to be available for me to listen to?
Yes, you'll have to go to goharrison.com. It'll be a video archive, so you can watch it on your smartphone or just listen to the audio if you want, but it'll be perpetually available.
Okay, wonderful. The second thing is I went to Occupy Los Angeles the last 2 nights, and I was there yesterday. I probably got there about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and went all the way till 2 in the morning, and I have a couple things I want to ask you. Number one is I was trying to estimate the crowd size. I went to a lot of TV stations' websites today and everywhere, and I really couldn't get a handle on it. I saw somewhere where it said hundreds, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then I saw the highest thing was 2,000. And have you heard any numbers that are credible?
We're told by people there a minimum of 2,000. A minimum of 2,000.
Yeah, because when I was there, and this was probably about 11 p.m., and people were continuing to show up then, I counted 100 people in the crowd, and then I kind of made a grid in my mind and extrapolated it out. And I was figuring from, 3,000 and then pushing to 12. I thought it was going to 5. I'm no expert, but I asked other people, and they all seem to be the same thinking. So that's certainly more than the 2. And we know that crowd size is important as well, so that people know that people are joining the movement and paying attention. It wasn't just nobody.
Right. The LA Times...
go ahead. Mention, it was wonderful to be there. I stayed till 2 because I had parked on the street a few blocks away, and they were going to, it says no parking after 2 a.m., so I had to go there. I was hoping that if whatever was going to happen would be there so I could stand for it then. By the time I had to leave, there were lines of police and riot gear surrounding, and something interesting happened. I was walking about a block away up First Street to my car, and I got to the line of police where they were, and they would not let me exit that way. And they hadn't made any official announcements about unlawful assembly or anything like that. And they were very nice, but they told me, and I said, I'm going to leave right now. I have to go get my car and move it because I don't want to get towed. They said, well, you can do it. You just have to walk this way. And that was a few blocks out of my way, which is what I did. So that was interesting to me because I really was surprised they wouldn't let me out of there. And the other thing is to address what one of the last guys talked to you who said it really wasn't worth anything. I think the change of consciousness, when all you have to do is do a cursory look at our, the mainstream media, and this has been said before, they very rarely, if ever, talked about the power structure and the corrupted way that things have been here. It's mostly been the left-right paradigm. And I think, if anything, we can see a tangible change that everyone, including all the politicians, have actually talked about it's not the word corruption, which is what I'd like to hear a lot more, at least that kind of paradigm of, disparate wealth, great distance between the average Joe's wealth and the rich's wealth.
Right. And thank you so much, Mark. What an excellent, excellent call. Hope you will join us during our Hangouts at 6 p.m. weeknights, usually 6 p.m. GoHarrison.com. Multi-video boxes. People Skype in from all over the world. Lots of phone lines. Would love to have your pithy, brilliant comments and your excellent and poignant analysis. And I'll say it exactly like that when you call in again, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
All right, my friend. Have a great day. Thank you so much. If you are somehow just listening to audio, let me give out the phone numbers. 310-807-5135. 310-807-5135. 310-807-5135. We have so many arms and legs on our digital menace here that it's hard to know how people are receiving. I'm joined by Mercy Malik, our news director. We are doing a special second hour live, taking your calls, talking about Occupy LA, why it is necessary. Maybe you're a witness there, maybe you're in another city and have your own version of Occupy, what it means to you, and where you feel it's going. Let's go next to, and I don't want to bungle the name too badly, but Mansfield, Ohio. I think it's Aurora. If I've said that wrongly, and I'm sure I have, please correct.
No, it's fine. It's better than what my wife says. But hey, I just want to talk about...
nice.
I just want to talk about social activism. I used to live in L.A. I moved for business reasons a few months ago to Mansfield, Ohio, and it's a totally different world. I mean, I really appreciate how people in LA are so active in their critique about the government and what's going on, because here it's a totally different world. It's just like sheep, literally there's sheep here too, but people are just, it's all about like, going to the big box stores and camping out and getting the best deals and consumerism, and there's nothing regarding social activism, And,
it reminds me, I grew up in Chicago, and Chicago is one of the best petri dishes for advertising. They release every product early there, because what people do is they eat, they consume. And the word consumer is kind of perfect. And that's not to say that all Chicagoans are like that. But when you're in the Midwest, you're not near saltwater. You're not near the fizz and franticness of New York City, nor are you within sort of the introspective, Buddhist chill of the West Coast. You're in the middle. It's about, fall and winter is coming. It's time to, gather nuts and sit inside. So it is about storing stuff up, eating, consuming. And the mentality, get this, in Chicago, when I lived there 10 years ago, we had one single NPR station for the third largest city in the U.S. And this wasn't some edgy NPR. This is like all, the...
Sponsored by Walmart.
Yeah, and the car folks, and it was fun!
Yeah.
But the thing is, Terry, I don't even know what's going on in the world, because I get my news from some places on YouTube and whatnot, because there's NPR here, but it doesn't even come on. I mean, that's about as left as they go, but it hardly comes on. I mean, all you have here is like right-wing Christian talk and all this stuff, and it's like so polarized. I mean, Mansfield, which is like it has some other than white people, it has other races, and I don't know if it's Democratic or Republican, but it's like half and half. But anywhere outside is so rural, and it's so polarized and so like scary, because I'm Indian, and when I go out for my job, I get weird looks in some cities. I mean, they got people that have like don't believe the liberal media, on their windows, and it's just kind of weird. I've never seen that before, and it's just so many uninformed people out here.
Yeah. Well, you are in the Midwest, my friend.
Hang in there.
Yeah, hang in there. And just remember, sort of in defense, not in defense of the behavior, but in defense, in explanation of the behavior, I should say. They're doing the best they can with what they have. They don't have much, and you pointed out yourself, they don't have much alternative thinking.
Right.
And I use my mother as the filter here, and this will help explain. I thought, well, she's just a bigot. She's just a bigot. And all this information is out there, and there's the internet. But she actually is being a patriot. She reads the Naples Daily News every day. She watches the television set, with the car commercials. So her level of awareness is equivalent to the D+ she's handed, and she does the work. She reads the paper, she watches TV, she does what she's instructed to do, especially that the TV is yelling at her, we're number one, we're the most trusted name in news. So she becomes an expert on underpants and car sales. And we wonder why she's a philosophical nitwit. And she's not listening, so I could say this. And she's also dead, so I could definitely say it.
So she may be listening, actually.
So she is listening. But it wasn't really her fault, and that's what I understood. So when you're in Ohio, or I was in Illinois, or Florida, or wherever, people don't know that there's more to eat because they're only eating what's put on their plate, and they're not told they're allowed to have more, or that they could have a green bean instead of okra.
There's nothing wrong with okra, though. Just
yes,
for the record.
There's everything wrong with
okra is wonderful.
Fighting the good fight.
All right, my friend. Thank you for checking in, my friend.
Yes. Can I address a question that a prior call? Thank you.
Yes.
The caller just before had asked about numbers at Occupy LA. The LA Times reported this morning that as of 2 a.m., the crowd had, quote, dwindled to between 1,000 and 2,000. So that's a dwindling. So there was clearly more than 2,000 if they had dwindled to that number. October. So there's a huge presence down there, and at least good for the Times for actually trying to address that, because I remember way back in the days when we were protesting, and I say we because there were hundreds of thousands of us protesting the invasion of Iraq in downtown LA, and the mainstream news was reporting on it. There were about 10,000 people down there. There were 10,000 people around my physical person at those protests. And it was really demoralizing to have the reality of the very popular uprising against that invasion diminished so tremendously, which it seems is not happening now, which is good.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's Mercy Malik, by the way. You can find her on Facebook, Mercy Malik.
Yep.
It's so easy.
Yep.
And spell Malik for us.
Malick. It's not phonetic, sorry.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Harrison with you. It is 24 minutes past the hour. We're doing a special online version of the Smart Show. We were broadcasting earlier on FM radio in Los Angeles. Here in the afternoon, we decided to do a special online-only hour, talking to you right here, right now. Our number is 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135, 310-807-5135. If you're hearing this, you're very likely watching it, because we're sending the audio out, as far as I know, exclusively by video. So you will see the number at the top of your screen. We're taking your live telephone calls. We have 50 dedicated phone lines, 50. Also reminding you that you can come to our Harrison's Hangout at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That would be 9 p.m. Eastern. Weeknights, where we talk about the news of the day, take live telephone calls, including Skype calls and video calls via Google+. Very modern stuff. Go to goharrison.com to learn more and to be able to participate. It's for free and for fun, just the way we like to do everything else. Let's say hi next to Rhea back in Las Vegas. I think we said hi to you earlier, Rhea.
Yes, you did, and you invited me back. I listened, and I thank you for that. I listened to the young man calling in, and he said that he didn't really feel that the Occupy served a purpose. It could be if certain people are not aware of just what the purpose is. And yes, it can be diversified because the organization has not totally come together with organizers to put together a specific strategy, but it's in its infancy. I would tend to differ. First of all, everybody remembers, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe one of the first Occupies was Occupy Wall Street. What was that about?
Yes,
Why did they choose? Why did they choose Wall Street? Because that's where money was dropped. Yep. Our American money. We the people, for the people, by the people, who was orchestrated by those supposedly put in power, decided to bail out Wall Street and decided to bail out the banks. So New York is the main mecca. And the first Occupy was then again done in the corporate structure of Wall Street to make a point. We're going to occupy your area to let you know, we the 99%, we are sick and tired of what you are doing. And as far as anarchy is concerned, because I heard another radio person come on and said that basically in a state of anarchy, well, I looked it up and it said a state of anarchy has to do with a state of lawlessness or political disorder due to the absence of government. It would appear to me and several of the rest of the 99%ers that what we have is true anarchy within our own government. Anytime you vote and you put in people with certain rules and regulations, as we have, and the governmental forces put in by the people, go contrary, that's anarchy. They're not staying in line with the laws. So you do have to have some people, such as Bradley Manning, if in fact he was the gentleman that leaked to WikiLeaks the inconsistencies going on within our governmental structure that needed to be brought back where? To the people, for the people, by the people. Because it would be, it's my mindset that the government that we have today has totally forgotten who really runs things. It's us, the people. They have forgotten. And my latter point would be, part of that has to do with corporations. They have become personage. They have been given the same strategies, the same freedoms that we, the people with flesh and blood, have been given. As a result, they have more money. As a result, they buy out our politicians. And as a result, there are laws now that are being instituted, that are no longer for the people, as Governor Jesse Ventura talked about. So unless you have we, the people, that come together collectively as a voice, and there are some things that have to be worked out in infancy. An infant has to have structure, has to have guidance. So I'm calling on anyone that's out there that can render, such as attorneys, to come to the fore to help an infant gain strength. gain direction. But you have to have we, the people, not corporations, dictating collectively, which is what this country supposedly is all about, voting with the masses of what we want, supersede what an institution says is legal and a governmental agency that says is legal and fair. We're not even, as a government, our government, standing behind the people. And any time, thank God that we have Twitter, Facebook, your program, Harrison, that it cannot be hidden from we, the people, of how we, the people, are being treated, pepper sprayed in your face, when you are sitting on the ground peacefully exercising your rights as set forth by our laws, of which those we put in office are saying they're going to protect. When it is blatant that what we have allowed to be put in office is not protecting the rights of the people, then yes, the people collectively, as painful as it has to be, must stand up, must lock forces, join hands, and say no. If it means civil disobedience, the answer is still no. Because we put you in as a people, and with voting rights, our voices, our presence, we are going to shout from the rooftops, you're not going to get away with this.
We
no
love
more.
your energy.
Yes, well put.
And I love the irony that this brilliance, this philosophy, and this passion originates from a city full of slot machines and crap tables.
That's not where I was originally from, and unfortunately I had to leave the Los Angeles area as of August. But I am very much into it, and I am so thankful there's a program like yours, and that's for the last caller. He has to seek it out, because in various areas you don't have the enthusiasm that you have in certain other areas.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean you can't have the enthusiasm, and the reason I'm calling is because if there's anyone that has an idea of one of my pet peeves is Bradley Manning.
Yes.
This man is going to be railroaded with the trial that he's going to be given. It is a mock. And we, the people, have to stand up for what we feel are our own and not allow this man, irregardless, he is not to be railroaded. If he did decide to tell the truth, he is to be commended, and we are to have his back.
Yes.
That's if he did it.
Yeah.
All right. Hey,
and the only reason, let's say, he might have to say he didn't is because he doesn't want to be railroaded by the government. But no means, as we the people, should we allow this man to be railroaded, let's say, if in fact he did have to leak file, to let us all know that our government was being sneaky and wrong and liars.
Yep.
And crooked. Why are we going to stand up for something like that and allow the government to railroad this man?
Well, listen, Rhea,
we need
thank
to come
you.
together
Listen,
collectively.
What you're doing is so wonderful.
Yes.
And that you're supporting it, that you're keeping him in the headlines, because that was a story that was popularly covered about 3 months ago. He has just been put away and vanished, disappeared, which was part of the plan, and you have brought him back like a Leonard Peltier. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for keeping him on your A-list of news stories. And please keep reminding us how important that is down the road, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Rhea. Have a great day. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Rhea.
Harrison with you. We are out of time here. I want to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for staying online with us after the fact. We will continue. We do our live radio broadcasts every Monday from 2 to 3 Pacific time on KPFK, which is 90.7 FM. Since you are watching online exclusively right now, you also can watch the whole thing at GoHarrison.com. A better way to actually do it, because you can tweet, you can Facebook, you can do a lot of things, and plus call in on the phone, which is the way we like to do it. Thank you, everybody who has joined us on this after stream right here. I want to thank you, Mercy Malik, so much for hanging out.
Thank you, Harrison.
This extra time.
It's my pleasure. Love talking to the listeners.
Grilling that lobster in the corner over there, multitasking.
The butter is almost melted.
I want to thank Billy Foster, who is our webmaster, our tech guru, our just an amazing magician, technically, who's really made this so amazingly possible for me to be able to bring for you. Also, Francis Francis Lee, who is our intern and really more of our intern with a capital I have to say. Thank you, Francis, for being so kind, manning the phones, helping people's voices get on the air. An invaluable help you are, and we're so grateful. Again, Mercy Malik, Geoff, who's already gone, everybody else. And we will see you next time. Don't forget our hangouts are at 6 p.m. Pacific time, weeknights. We'll see you later. Bye.